Hey everybody, this is Josh Paul, host of the Small Marketing Teams podcast. I'm really glad that you're checking out the show today. If you're trying to grow your business and you're not a household name or a well-funded startup, you need to do things differently, and that's what we get into on this podcast. If that's you, go ahead and click subscribe on the screen right now so that you'll get notified when we put out new tips, new tutorials, and new advice for small marketing and sales teams. Most people think that subject line is the most important factor in getting your emails opened. Small Marketing Teams, episode 19.
You're listening to the Small Marketing Team Show with Josh Paul, the podcast where you'll learn how to achieve big growth without a big budget.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in to today's session of the Small Marketing Teams Show, the podcast that marketers, salespeople, and business owners rely on to learn how to do more with less. Each week, I'll teach you how you can grow your company without the big budgets that we associate with marketing today. Whether you're the only marketer in your company, and you're also the salesperson, the CEO, and the person who does payroll, or you have a marketing team big enough to need an org chart, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Josh Paul. Let's get started. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this episode of the Small Marketing Teams podcast. I hope you're having a great day. And if you've listened to this podcast for a while, you know that we talk about the things that small and mid-sized companies can do that don't cost them any money or don't cost them a lot of money, but can make a big difference in their results. That's how small companies with small marketing teams can beat much larger companies. That's how my software company, when I was growing it, that's how we could beat companies 4 and 5 times our size because we thought about things differently. We thought about things a little bit harder to be able to make decisions that were smarter. And we leveraged that to get better results when we didn't have the resources that these other companies had. So today what I want to talk about is a question that I hear a lot, and this is marketing emails. How long should they be? How long should your marketing emails be? I was working with a company recently that was doing a re-engagement campaign to their list. They hadn't emailed as much as they wanted to recently over the past 6 months. And we have a new offer that were a new ebook that they were producing. And they wanted advice on how to warm up their market so that there are the offers that they put in front of them, because they're going to start publishing offers more often, resources more often. How should they get those out into the market so that people will respond? So that we set up a series of marketing emails with them, but they were going to blog posts, so ungated content. And we're going to do a series of 2 emails, 2 blog posts, and then 1 to the offer in kind of a direct response fashion. So the emails to the blog posts were story-based. And so you tell the story. And we had switched to this at my last company when I was running the marketing department there, because we wanted people to know us and like us and trust us more, so that when they got a sales email or a marketing email that had a call to action in it, then they were already warmed up. They already trusted us, and they would take that action. A higher percentage of them would take that action. So this was an email, or it was a blog post on email deliverability. And so I wrote a story with them of why email deliverability is important. It was a personal story, getting them to know the charismatic character that the email was coming from, to like the company more through a personal story. And the personal story also made the case for why they needed the tips and the advice and the guide that was contained in the blog post. So, I sent the story up the chain at the company, and people just went nuts. They said, this won't work. People who are engaged with us won't get it. Nobody will read that far. So I wanted to dig into that deeper. I got 2 emails today, and this is what prompted me to record this advice in this episode right now. I got 2 emails today. Both of them are over 1,000 words. Not every email I get is that long, but these caught my attention. The first one I didn't open. I scrolled through it because the name, it was from a name that could have been familiar. I wasn't quite sure. And the first words in the subject line in brackets were HubSpot agencies. And I'm not a HubSpot agency, but I am a HubSpot consultant. And so it caught my attention. I thought it might be from HubSpot. It was a really good subject line, because they're doing a lot of updates to their programs, and I run the user group in here in Phoenix. So I thought it may be something relevant to me. And I opened it up, and I could tell right away it wasn't from HubSpot, but I scrolled down. I kept scrolling. I didn't read a word of this email. I didn't click on anything, and because I wanted to see who this was actually from. And I got to the bottom, and I learned who it was from. I didn't read any of it, didn't take any action. The second email I got, equally as long. In that email, I clicked on 3 links. I clicked to apply for some upcoming training. I downloaded a cheat sheet that they were offering that I had to opt into. And I clicked on the link to get to their podcast because there was a really interesting episode that was recently published that got my attention, because I did read every word of that email. It's the kind of email that it's still a marketing email, but you do click on it. You do look forward to it when it comes into your inbox. So what is the difference between these 2 emails? Actually, one, and it has to do with where the emails came from. I've always said that the number one thing, so there's 3 factors that get people to open emails. I went over this in a previous podcast. The first one is the preview text. The second one is the subject line. And the first one is the sender. What is your relationship with the sender? Most people think that subject line is the most important factor in getting your emails opened. And they spend hours going, what are the words to use or not use? What are the formulas for subject lines? And I think that's kind of the wrong direction, to put it gently. The number one thing that determines whether your email gets opened is the 10 emails you sent prior and the content that people have consumed from you prior. So the number one factor is the sender. So the reason that I opened 1,000+ word email and didn't click on anything in the other one, I really just wanted to know who was writing emails in this fashion. Otherwise, I wouldn't have even opened it if that the sender didn't sound semi-familiar and it didn't say HubSpot in the subject line. But so what was the main factor? The one is I trusted and followed the person who sent the email, where I clicked on the links and read every word of the email. This other email, once I realized that it wasn't from somebody who I knew, it wasn't from HubSpot, it wasn't from one of their, the people who run the user group program, or one of the people who provides information to their consultants and agencies, then I was done. I was not going to read anything else. I did scroll down to the bottom. It was actually from a company that provides HubSpot templates in the marketplace, some paid, some free. I think they do other HubSpot development too. I'm not quite sure because I did not read this email, but I recognized the name. I had downloaded something about a year ago from them, a template. And the way that the HubSpot marketplace works is if you download a template, you're now on that company's marketing list and they're going to market to you. But they hadn't built any relationship with me. I didn't know who they were. And so when they reached out to me, I had no context. I had no trust with them. I had no idea if this was going to be a valuable use of my time, so I was done. So when people say, how long should my emails be? It really depends. If you don't have a relationship with somebody, then I would make the email shorter and make sure your value is clear. You're going to have to warm people up to opening longer emails and trusting you with their time like that. So I would make them shorter if you don't have a relationship. If they are engaged with you, this client that I was working with the email deliverability blog post that they're trying to drive people to, they contended that people who were engaged with them wouldn't respond to an email that told a story. And it's really, you need to turn that on your head. The people who are engaged with you, the people who know who you are and trust you, those are the people who are going to read your stories and respond to the calls to action at the end of those stories. So how long should your marketing emails be? It really comes down to how much does the recipient know you, how much do they trust you, and how much do they look forward to opening your emails when they see them in their inbox. If they trust you and know you and look forward to your emails, then you can go 1,000 words, 2,000 words, 3,000 words, because they know that it's going to be a good use of your time. However, if you're like this HubSpot template developer and you're sending this email, it's the first one I think I've ever gotten from them. I've never really opened them prior. I would have made this email 200 words, 100 words to try to drive the point home and get me to consume some value rather than taking me through a story first. So that's it. If you can think about email differently, and not think about it from the technical aspect in terms of the copy, but think about the user experience, the recipient experience, and think about the relationship that you have with your audience and different people in your audience. If you can identify if most of them are engaged or most of them are brand new. Cold emails, unengaged audiences shouldn't get long emails filled with stories. They're not going to read them. So if you want more tips like this, I'm going to be posting them in the Small Marketing Teams Facebook group. I would love to have you part of that community. It's where I'm posting most of my advice for small marketing teams these days. You can get there by going to smallmarketingteams.com/community or Small Marketing Teams, clicking on the community link in the navigation, or you can search for the Small Marketing Teams Secrets podcast in Facebook. We would love to have you. That's it, everybody. I will see you online.